Okay, so let me clarify one thing. One thing is, I was wrong. We're not talking about salvation here.
No.
Two, I don't know what that means. I really don't.
So like I said, am I the Ahab for telling my wife if she converts to Islam, I'm divorcing her. Been married 4 years and together for 7. No ages mentioned. Love my wife with all my heart. We started dating back in high school and have been inseparable since.
Oh, since high school? How long have they been together, you said?
7 years, so that means
okay, so they're not
early
much
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been married for 4 years, so...
Oh, you guys, you're just kids, bro.
Yeah. Okay, but you should let me finish the story.
I'm with you.
Back when we first started dating, she was a Christian. I am an atheist and not super thrilled about religion in general. Well, she ended up falling out of Christianity after a couple years of dating and has gone with the agnostic label since. The last handful of months, though, she seemed to be interested in Islam. She'd watch YouTube videos about it, and I noticed she had a Quran app on her phone. I asked her what was going on. She said she's been feeling a call to be Muslim. I asked her how and why.
How? Great question, bro.
And she said she saw some videos of a street preacher and it made her look into it. Now she says it connects to her more than Christianity did. Okay. She's the type who goes through a lot of phases, so
sounds like it.
Sorry. So I assumed it was just a phase and short-term interest. Well, the other day, she came up to me and said she wanted to get a prayer mat and wanted to try wearing a hijab. We live right outside Dearborn, Michigan, which is one of the largest hubs of Muslims outside of the Middle East. She asked if I'd want to go with her to pick them up or if I'd be okay with these things. I told her that I'm not comfortable with it, and I would probably want to separate if she started wearing a hijab especially.
Okay, bro.
She got pretty sad. I said that and asked why. His writing gets crazy here. And told her I'm not interested in being with someone who is religious, especially not someone who is visibly religious to the point they won't show their hair. She said she understands why I might not like it, but threatening to divorce over it means that I don't love her. I do love her, but I'm not willing to become a part of the Muslim community or be with a woman who wears a hijab or someone who would have to start eating halal and stop and pray multiple times a day.
Oh, it's good for you, bro. You should do that. You should eat halal.
Christianity was okay because she wasn't overtly religious and was already winning in it by the time we started dating. She says she doesn't know what she wants to pursue, but is really upset that I'd leave her if she chose to fully convert to Islam.
Alright, bro. Look, here's the thing, dog. If your wife goes through all these little stages, which I believe you, if she just feels like calling to do something because she saw some video on YouTube, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say you're a weirdo for that, but like, you know, flippy floppy through all these religions and stuff to me is like, it doesn't really mean anything to you. You know what I mean? You're flipping from Christianity to agnostic to Islam. And what's it gonna be? Whoa. What's it gonna be next? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you don't really appreciate, you know, how sacred these religions are. At least, whoa! At least I don't think you do. Because if you did, you would give them great consideration and take, you know, a lot of time to consider what you're doing before you just run around and start converting to something new. I don't know, man. But the answer
is just a phase for her.
Well, the thing is, that's not the question. The question is are you the Ahab? And yeah, I kind of think you are. You know what I'm saying? You yourself said that your wife, you know, goes through these little phases and stuff. So like, bro, it'll pass, dog. It's not gonna be a big deal, and you know it's not gonna be a big deal. You're more or less than whoa.
What do you think about the head covering comment? I think that's a little bit extreme and kind of racist, but
You think so?
I also think it'd be
Look,
weird.
bro,
to
he's
just
kind of
start
embarrassed.
doing
Look, if you dyed your hair blue and was walking around with like blue pigtails around, I'd be like, oh my gosh, dude, act your age. You're 27.
that. No offense
You know
to
what I mean?
anyone who voted for Harris.
You know what I mean? That's just kind of how I feel about it. Like, I don't know, call me a jerk or whatever if you want to. But I do kind of understand that because it's like, okay, I don't think it has as much to do with the hijab as it does, like, oh God, this is my woman. Everywhere I go, she's got a new religion, a new belief. She's a zealot for something new.
It'd be awkward if she stopped doing it.
Yes.
later.
And like, what do I look like? Like, I look like I don't have my house in order as a man. Like,
Yeah.
so that comment is not what bothers me. What bothers me is it's just like, bro, sit down with your wife, sit down with your lady, and be like, hey, dude, name 5 things about the Islamic faith. Name 5. You know what I mean? And let's just see what she can do.
So you just think she's just not?
No, it's
serious.
just another thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just another thing.
Like
And it's an easy thing to
do.
do, okay? It's a really easy thing to do. It's not like, and what I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. All right. If you want to take time out of your entire weekend, every weekend, to go down to the homeless shelter, that takes time. It takes money for you to take that gas and to make that trip. You know, and you get, then you've earned the right to virtue signal on how you've helped the homeless or whatever. And
Yeah.
you've done nothing just to be like, I'm Muslim. You know, look how cool I am. Because you look at it, more than likely, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you are a white woman. And you probably look at this and you're like, oh, it's like a minority faith. And it's something that is often discriminated against. And you can't wait to be a part of that side so that you can play this victim card that you're so special and so unique that I've converted to Islam. Look, I could be wrong on all the things I just assumed. But it's really giving that type of energy that you
Yeah.
want the attention so bad you can't wait to put this hijab
Well,
on.
if they do have like a really large community,
in the area,
in the area.
that's a little bit different.
then
And he did say that, you're right.
yeah. So I mean, I kind of can understand like it's accessible and like there are a lot of times when you're learning about a new religion, whether it's Islamic or Christian or just anything different, they can really make it seem like it's more appealing to you than whatever you were in before.
Sure.
Because it's new. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like he would be, but a lot of people are saying no. Like, you wouldn't be.
He's not the Ahab?
Yeah.
Let me hear an argument for why he's not the Ahab, because I
It's
think
not
I
very
disagree.
good arguments. People get divorced for all kinds of reasons. If she changes from the person you married to a different person, you don't have to stay married.
That's lame.
Yeah.
He took an oath.
That's
lame.
If she converts to Islam, she'd probably be happier married to a Muslim anyway.
I mean,
I don't know.
you don't know that, bro. You got no. I mean, and again, that's easy to say because there's a lot of things I said that you could look at and be like, you don't know that, bro, and you are 100% right. I don't.
And then the comments under that say if she converts and OP doesn't, they're automatically divorced according to Islam. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true either because you can say it's according to Islam, but like, what type of Islam are you talking about?
The tenets of her new religion nullify any marriage between a Muslim and a non-Muslim or a non-practicing whatever's. But then the person under that said Muslim women can only marry Muslim men and Muslim men can marry Christian or Jewish women and their children are automatically considered Muslim.
Okay,
It's a little sexist.
what type of Muslim are we talking about though? Like, because
No clue.
I'm not a Quran guy. I've never
No.
read it. I've never taken the time to read it. And so, to me, like, you can say, well, Christians
They're
are
already
supposed
married,
to take,
though.
yeah, Christians are supposed to take confession, and it's like, but that's not all Christians, right? You know what I'm saying? There's different types of the Muslim faith between your,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, according to the Bible, it's kind of, it's not like that at all.
Where is the
But,
shop? I need to
um,
buy potions.
Your children are considered clean, whether it's the husband or the wife that believes in God, in Christ.
I would say up until they get to the age of responsibility where it's,
Right.
you know.
but like when they're little. That's Paul, right?
I don't know if it's children because I know it says.
Yeah, because
it talks about your spouse and saying that you can make one clean about the
but
other.
it says otherwise your children would be considered unclean, doesn't it?
I don't know
Does
about
it
that
not
part,
say that?
Honorine.
It has.
Find that verse if you want to, but I mean, bro, if that was a verse, if it is a verse and I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But just imagine how easy of a target that is and wonder why you haven't heard atheists be like, and so the children are unclean too? Your God just hates everybody. Like, I don't think God's going to ever look at children unclean. You know what I'm saying? Because they're young and they're naive and they make bad decisions and they don't understand the consequences and implications of their actions. And so it'd be odd for them to say that your children are clean because that would also imply that there are times your children are clean.
Hold on.
And spending money, dropping money, getting health potions. Lots of health potions.
Look at you.
What, was that right?
Yeah, no. 1 Corinthians 7:14. Don't come at me ever again.
Was I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, read the verse and what are you reading from? KJV?
Yeah, I'm about to. I gotta open
This song
the
is a
app.
banger, bro.
It says. This is all about marriage, this whole chapter. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband.
Yes.
Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy.
Okay. Alright.
Like, your children aren't half bad because one of you doesn't believe in
If we scrutinize
Christ.
this logically, all right, read it very slow for me one more time, please.
For the unbelieving husband
Yes.
is sanctified by the wife,
Right.
and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy.
Okay. I'm gonna present a little case here. Is that
And else basically means like otherwise your children are unclean.
yeah? All right. So let's put it this way.
That's exactly what I said.
No. Hear me out. Listen to me.
You just put that in front of me.
Sorry. It's root beer. Listen to me. Let's say I have two parents. Neither of them are saved. Am I unclean? No. Because I got Jesus. And so I don't think this is in reference to the child. I think this is in reference to the making and creating of the child. Because this, the whole portion of this chapter has to do.
I'm not saying like.
You get what I'm saying? If you got two
No.
parents that are non-believers, am I just unclean?
Well, if you don't. I mean.
As a 2-year-old in diapers who's never heard of Jesus Christ, am I unclean? Who has basically just not committed any willful, intentional sin. I'm just a
Well,
baby
that's
who's
just
given
an
to my
innocent
car.
baby.
But is
But
he unclean?
you're not sanctified. You're not saved.
Okay, no,
Are
but if
you?
I died in that moment, I would be.
And let me get that.
Because I'm not judged by the things I don't know. I'm judged by the things I do know. And at that age, all I know is cookie tastes good. Naps are fun. You don't understand the concepts of good and evil. Unless you want to take it to this crazy understanding of the soul has a certain nature to it. In which case, now we have certain people that can be born and just are physically can't be saved. Which can't be true because that means the sacrifice of Christ would be unavailable to us,
No.
to that individual.
That's not what I mean.
Exactly. So am I unclean because I have two parents that are not saved? No, I don't think this has to do with the sanctification
I just
and
feel like
cleanliness of a child's soul.
no, but like
This is a good conversation.
Does it kind of mean,
Something about and if you don't have a
to me, it just seems like it doesn't mean that you're, like, if your dad's atheist and your mom's a Christian, it doesn't mean you're half atheist. Like, you,
No, because
You know what I mean?
no, it wouldn't. Because what he
That's
says
what I'm
right
saying.
there, if you have one Christian parent and one non-Christian parent,
then
you would be
they're
clean.
covered, yeah.
You'd be clean. So what happens if you don't have either?
You just like them, I guess.
I don't know. I don't think so. I just don't think so. It does not. To me, that does not compute. I would need a really good argument to make. To me, we're talking about the actual creation of the child, the intercourse, the sanctity of the marriage, right? Because in reference to this verse, we're talking about salvation, if I'm not mistaken. We're talking about is the.
But that's what sin is.
Said it one more time. What are you saying? What did you
Like,
just say?
and that's just what the scripture says.
What are you saying that the scripture is saying? Are you,
Or else your children would be unclean. So,
I understand that that's what it says, but if
Yeah.
we're just going to take one verse and say, well, that's what it says, then I'll go to Proverbs and say that there's no greater joy that a man can have other than to drink and be merry, and that in your youth you should drink alcohol and have a great time and party. There is so much greater things you can do in the life than do that, because I'm not going to cherry pick one verse. I'm going to use the entire Bible for context here.
Right.
And if I'm going to use the entire Bible for context here, those children wouldn't be deemed unclean in the eyes of God simply because their parents aren't saved.
I've never thought this deep on it. I just thought it meant like, or else your children aren't Christian if they're,
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
that's just what I thought it meant. But now
if you're gonna make
making me
it,
think
if you're
of
gonna make it as simple as that, then sure, yeah, your children are probably not gonna be Christian.
that's,
Yes,
that's just how
very
I always
simple.
took it. But now you're making it deeper, and now I'm like, well, now I feel like I need to do more research
Well,
because
clean to me is a special word, right? Especially if we're talking about the KJV. All right, clean is something that means it can enter into the temple. All right, that's what cleanliness meant. And so, you know,
well, if you have no Christian parents, you can't just be a little hoodlum off the street going into the temple, can you?
if you have no Christian parents,
Like,
you
if
can't
both
just
your
be a-
parents are not sanctified, are you just gonna be a little non-Christian kid just going into the temple?
Okay, so
Or are they gonna
when,
be like,
when I
"Hey,
say
buddy"?
temple, when I say
Are
temple,
you talking about like
I was originally referring to like
We don't
the
have
the
a
temple, right?
Yeah, we
the
don't-
the,
but
the
that's-
physical building, but that's not there anymore.
yeah, we don't have that.
And so the cleanliness is coming from the sacrifice of Christ and
Right.
your salvation. Remember, I wash you
Yeah.
clean as white like robes and all that stuff. And so to say that, and I'm not saying that this is what you're saying, but to say that not having Christian parents means that you can't enter the temple is synonymous with saying that not having Christian parents means that you can't be saved.
That's not what I think. Because
Can I make this jump, bro?
I feel like you can be like
Sure can.
not saved, but if you're a person, isn't there scripture saying that like you're not gonna be held to what you don't know?
Indeed.
So then it's like you could be not technically saved. Was dreaming.
Man, I
You
can't
can
believe I just
be-
found this power core. I gotta go all the way back to this last one.
You can be not saved. Whoa, are you dreaming? But still, like, there's room for you. There's mercy for you because, like, you didn't know.
Whoa! Yes, and that is very
so
true.
Then that would be what that's for. Is because if you had no Christian parents and you didn't know.
But you would know.
How if you're like 3?
Okay, now if you're 3, that's a difference. And yes, in which case I agree 110%. In which case, that wouldn't make you not clean because you could still get clean by Christ. And something that is unclean literally has to remain unclean. Like, this is why the law is so important to understand so that you can understand the New Testament is because when you were unclean, you had to have a ceremonial washing or sometimes even wait 24 hours before you could end up into the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Where you could go into the temple.
Yeah, they're like fresh
Clothes or
on.
whatever. You had to do all sorts of different things
Yeah.
depending on what your
You
uncleanness
had to wear your
was.
underpants.
And so when we're talking about unclean, right?
Yeah.
When we're referring to that with like end time salvation, like we're talking about the end, like new earth, new Jerusalem type stuff.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is if you were unclean, you're found unclean, you're not accepted in. Okay, that's the thing. Is unclean really represents like not salvation whatsoever. You know, the only people who get in the word this is kind of unclean were the ones that sneak in over the fence, and Christ looks at them and goes, my friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And then it says there'll be much weeping and gnashing of teeth. And so it's just vocabulary. Our disagreement here is the same thing Christians have been disagreeing about for like generations, is when you say unclean, what kind of unclean are you referring to, and what do you mean by that?
Because I never thought too deep on it. I just figured it was like...
I'm about to start thinking deep on where this blacksmith
Oh, yeah.
is. The hardest thing to find in this game is this blacksmith. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing, is that when you say unclean, you can say, oh, you are unclean until the evening, so you need to go wash your clothes so that you can get, you know, whatever. That's kind of Old Temple, Mosaic, Levitical law uncleanliness.
Well,
But then when we're talking about like, whoa,
you're not held accountable for your parents' sins.
no, you're not.
So, like, I don't... But now I'm confused, because I didn't mean for it to go this way.
This is a great... To me, I really enjoy this
I
conversation.
was right and you were wrong.
I really enjoy this type of talk,
You
though.
were like, I don't know about that. But it surely does say that. But now we're talking about what it means, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's just all about what you define clean as. Like, where are you talking about for clean,
Well,
and what does that imply?
well,
It's not that I'm
no.
arguing with you at all. This is the kind of conversation that is some of my favorite to have in regards to Christianity and biblical truth. Is, again, as I was kind of listing out the examples before, is that one clean is you can't enter into the temple today and you have to sit on the outer gates of the city. Another clean is hey, my soul has been made clean. I've been washed with the
This
renewing.
is Corinthians.
Oh, 1 second, let me finish this. Hold on 1 second. I'm making a point here. If you are washed clean by like the renewal of Christ, and now you are saved, and then there's another section of I have been deemed as clean, and now I may enter into, you know, what do you want to call it, paradise or New Jerusalem, New Earth, whatever. And so just right there, we talked about 3 different versions of clean and what they represent and when they represent those things.
Well, if this is in 1 Corinthians,
Mm-hmm.
it was still temporary.
It sure was.
So, I mean, probably just that, right?
I don't know.
I don't know
And
either.
that's the thing, is that you have to look at the context of the chapter, and what he's talking about so far is he's talking about salvation. That's kind of my whole point in all of this, is that if he's talking about salvation, which is what I thought he was talking about this entire time, if you go back a couple of verses, and he's saying, you know, he's talking a lot about marriage and saying, hey, you know, if you have one unbelieving husband and one believing wife, or vice versa, whatever, one is, you know, sanctified, one is cleansed, and the other, you know. And so you're kind of talking about salvation here, right? Or am I twisted on that?
The word sanctification is used to indicate separation to God. Is that true?
I mean, sort of, yeah, that's a kind of a great way to say that in some ways. Will you just go a couple verses back and just kind of back up, make sure that we're on the proper context here?
Okay. How far back should I go?
Just a couple verses. Just, you know, what is the subject matter? Are we talking about acceptance?
No, this is literally, this whole chapter is...
Them
Now-
talking about marriage and sex.
Yeah, like it is good for a man not to touch a woman, that's verse 1. Avoid fornication, that's verse 2. Let every man have his own wife, and every woman have her own husband.
Lest they should, go into perversion or promiscuity.
Yeah. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband.
And likewise the other.
Yep. So, you can't just do whatever you want. I speak this by permission and not of commandment.
Yeah, exactly. He's speaking of himself here, not that God's telling him to speak here. And so to me, he's not...
This isn't saying your kids
really feel like we're
saved.
talking about sex here, though. So we're talking about the act in which brought your children in. And saying that you were deemed... It's clean version of sex here. We had 2 believers. This is something that God looks at and goes, okay, you guys are cool to be having sex here. Or you have 1 believer, 1 non-believer, but they're married, and we're cool to be having sex here. And so it's a clean...
Well, yeah, because it's I say, therefore, to the unmarried and widows, it's good for them if they abide even as I, so, to remain single.
Right.
Because Paul was single as a Pringle. And then, if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. Yeah. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband, and if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. Let not the husband put away his wife, but to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which hath a husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy.
Okay, so let me clarify one thing. One thing is, I was wrong. We're not talking about salvation here.
No.
2, I don't know what that means. I really don't. The more I think about that and the more I wrestle with it, the more I twist it. It's okay, are we just talking about sex here? But it doesn't seem like we're using words like sanctification. We're using words like holy, but we're not. You're not talking about the cleanliness of a soul. There's just no way. Based on the same thing that we already talked about before. Hey, Forrest, are you guys ready for us to come over, man? I see you in the chat there. There's no way that...
We're in the middle of something, so...
No, we can totally just wait here now, man. It's no big deal. I just auto-saved. As soon as we start this game on Monday, we'll finish it.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean you don't know?
Look, what I'm saying is there's obvious things that are simple to understand here.
Detected.
Very simple to understand. Right?
Unmarked.
All the things
Detected.
that he says is very simple. Until we get to that section right there with the children, when he starts saying holy and unclean and clean, it's holy is a really powerful word. That's something that's set apart.
Yeah, but he did specify twice already in this chapter.
Look, it's just me talking
I'm just
here.
talking to y'all.
Yeah.
And this might have been, as with a lot of Paul's letters, this might have been something that they were debating, and they were saying you're gonna be this way, and you're this, and you're that. A lot of his letters were also settling internal discussions that we're not privy to.
Yeah, we don't have all the context.
Yeah,
of what they had asked
where he was hey, you guys been arguing about this. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Here's what the Bible kind of says. So
Yeah, I know.
I don't think these. That's why I never thought it meant you're not saved. It just meant
Yeah,
maybe somebody was saying your kids are unholy or your kids are unclean.
This is one of those things that I'm just
Yeah.
gonna have to sit on for a little bit to think about, because it's this man was incredibly educated.
I think they were probably just arguing.
I don't know if it's quite that simple.
I don't know.
I'm not disrespecting your opinion.
But
on that,
I didn't mean for it to become this. I just was.
It's not an argument. This was
No.
a really good talk. I'm glad it became this.
I didn't mean to.
It's a good thing that it became this. Okay, let's close out here, but I'll leave it at this, is that Paul was an incredibly educated man. He knew the Torah and the prophets like the back of his hand. He hung out with many, many of the disciples and first witnesses, eyewitnesses to Christ. He knew a lot of things. And that's not just his religious zealousy. He knew a lot about Roman law too. This is how he was able to work his way in and out of the courts and make his way up to King Agrippa.
He was very cultured.
This dude knew a lot of stuff. He was a very well-educated man, okay?
Oh, he knew a lot about other places and people's religions and stuff,
Yeah,
too.
he knew a lot about, the Greek mythology
Greeks,
and their poets and all that good stuff. The man, he was very well-educated. So when he writes something like this, I doubt it was just like I think we're just going to write this instead.
No.
Like, just because he says that, I didn't hear this from the Lord, this is me speaking. What he's saying is I reserve the right to be wrong. But there's another section in the Bible where Paul says this, where he's like, look, I'm speaking this, not God. And then he follows it up with, but I'm pretty sure I have the Holy Spirit. Like, you know what I mean? He's saying, like, I'm pretty sure I know a thing or two about what I'm talking about here. And so it's like, it's not something that I don't like to dismiss anything on
No,
on
but
the
I
Bible.
still don't think it's just like this means you're not saved. If you
No, I don't think it means that either. But there is certainly something that it does imply there.
Yeah.
And what exactly he's implying there to me is very important to understand. Like, and now I'm just being a Bible nerd. Does knowing and understanding this verse going to send you to heaven? No. Is it going to prevent you from getting into the afterlife? No. But to me, every verse is just so special, and I want to understand it all. So when I run across something like this, I can't help but do what we did for the past 45 minutes and just break it down into all these little microfractures to understand what it does mean, what it doesn't mean. And if you can't figure out what it does mean or doesn't mean, next what you have to figure out is, okay, what can't it mean? And then after that's done, you can say, well, what can it mean? Then you can go back to the original question and say, okay, what does it mean? And I haven't quite sifted through all the possibilities yet. And so it's kind of a tricky thing. But that was an excellent conversation. I wish we could take a little bit longer, but we're leaving Forrest and Tessa on red. And so we're going to go ahead and call this quits now and go back into a group stream here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if they have any thoughts or if they heard it all.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We will see. They've been raising clean children, sanctified children. All right,
Both
that's it.
believers.
Both believers. All right, good talk, partner.
Are you high-fiving me like I'm your bro pal?
Yeah, dog.
No.
I love you.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us.
See you later,
I'll see
guys.
you in 2 minutes.
Just a couple of minutes.